Hi everyone, welcome. FPL Matt Day here. Game week 14 live stream. Can't wait for this game week. Big news, obviously, with potential injury to Haaland, which obviously we will discuss during the stream. But before we get into it, if you can just give the video a like, get your comments in, and give the channel a subscribe if you haven't done already. It is really appreciated if you could do that. What we'll do tonight is we're going to go through some fixture review. Each fixture, I'll predict the score. I'll pick a player I like from each game. Then I'll go through some differentials, some player picks and captains. And then I've got some questions that have come in from some of my followers. So I'll be going through those at the end of the stream. And any questions that come in the comments, get them in throughout the podcast, and we'll go through them at the end. Also, just put some chat in there, chat amongst yourselves as well, and talk all things game week 14. Just some quick comments that come in. One from Matt Cowling. Welcome to the stream, mate. He's coming in. He said Pep and Klopp press conferences in 30 minutes. So that's huge. That's huge because obviously we are all waiting on the news about Haaland and potentially Cancelo as well, who was rumored to have this fever that was apparently going around Man City. So that's really big. Look, we don't usually get much out of Guardiola anyway, but look, we'll see what he says. And then obviously with Liverpool, there's been some injuries there too. I think a lot of people who have Darwin Núñez will be interested to see, and hear Klopp's comments as to whether or not he might play this weekend. I know a lot of people were looking at bringing him in as well. But yeah, big weekend of FPL. If there's obviously no Haaland, it could really make things interesting. There's a lot of teams that probably have Harry Kane that they might then turn to as a captain. There's others that have Salah. They might turn to him as a captain. So there's a lot of picks to think about, which I will go through as the stream goes on. I'm going to share the screen just to begin with. Now we'll go through some fixtures. I'll also go through my my potential transfer if I do one on this stream as well at the moment. Actually, I'll save my plans for later on in the stream. But like I said, get your questions in as we go through. But let's start with that first game, Leicester against Man City. Leicester have obviously turned a bit of a corner lately. They've started to pick up some points. They got a 4-0 win at Wolves last week, which was huge for them. We saw Vardy get his first big score of the season. A bit of a blast from the past there. James Maddison grabbing a goal. We also saw another goal from Harvey Barnes, and then Castagna, who's been doing really well for a lot of managers lately with the assist and the clean sheet. Do I expect them to get anything from this game, though? Probably not. Even if Man City don't have Haaland, if he's not fit, if he can't play, I still expect Man City to go here and win quite comfortably. So I will back City for the win. I still think they'll go there, win this one, 1 or 2-0. I think with Haaland, I'll go with the 2-0. Haaland scores away from home haven't been as productive as his scores at home. But if he's there, I still think they will, they'll win the game. Then even without him, maybe I'll back more of a 1-0 without him. Maybe someone like Phil Foden to score the goal. I'd probably say the man to have from this one, from Man City. I'd like to say Cancelo, but there's obviously that news about him. I'd also say Haaland, but there's the injury news about him. So look, I'll go with Foden again. I know he didn't start last week, and he infuriated a lot of us managers. But surely he starts in this one, especially if Haaland is out. You might then see Foden in a central position, which is huge for everyone that owns him. And hopefully he can bring us back some points that we missed out on last week. So that's the first game, Leicester versus Man City. Just a quick comment that's coming from Matt Cowling. He's loving all the Saturday fixtures this week. Yeah, it's awesome to see, isn't it? It's really good to see. I can only assume that is because they obviously want to get the Champions League finish next week, League the week after, and then the Carabao Cup, I think, the week after. So maybe they're trying to get all these Saturday games in or something. I'm not sure why there's even more this week compared to other weeks, because last week there was barely any, was there? So it is good to see. It's always nice to have all of the games on Saturday, especially here in Australia, where you can sort of sit there and you can watch them all night long. So next up, we've got Bournemouth versus the team I support, Tottenham. interesting game this. Obviously, Spurs, we've not won in our last couple of league games. Drew in the Champions League in the week. It was obviously quite a tough one to take with the way that game ended. But Bournemouth, it's a fixture we've always done quite well in. In saying that, they've only lost one game in 7. They've been looking quite good under Gary O'Neill, so I think it'll be a tough game. It doesn't look like they can have Solanke fit, so it could be a bit trickier for Bournemouth. I've got to back Spurs for the win. I think we'll get this one over the line. I'll go for a 2-0 win. I think this could be the fixture for Son, so I'm actually going to back Son as the player in this one. Good record against Bournemouth down the years, as does Harry Kane. Son actually did get sent off at this stadium. I'm saying he's had a good record. He did get sent off at this stadium a few years back, but I think we'll win this game, especially if Solanke is injured and can't play. And I think Son, this could be a good game for him, and also probably Harry Kane as well, with a great scoring record against Bournemouth. So I'll stick with Kane then, just as the pick to have. And it could be a good good move if Haaland is injured and could potentially be out for a couple of game weeks. You could end up just moving him on, and then you can get him back in, the last game week before the World Cup, or even on the unlimited transfers after the World Cup. I guess we've got to see what Pep says. But again, until that press conference, we will not know. And then next up after that, we've got Brentford versus Wolves. That's another fixture where I probably expect it to be quite tight, quite low scoring. I think I'll back Brentford though, maybe 1 or 2-0. I think Tony's still the man to have in this Brentford side. Obviously David Raya as well. But I think, Tony against the Wolves team that just, they've been really poor in the last couple of weeks. Like the 4-0 loss at home to Leicester, even the 1-0 win against Forest, they were very, very lucky to get that win. So I'll back Brentford 2-0, and I think Ivan Toney is the man to have. And then we've got Brighton versus Chelsea. This is another one where I think if Brighton had Graham Potter and they'd still been on that form, I think they would have probably come out and given Chelsea a real game and maybe won this one. But I think with the fact Potter's now at Chelsea, Brighton haven't won under their new coach just yet. They have been sort of struggling 4 goals to get goals and to win games. So I think Chelsea, but then Chelsea they've been struggling to score goals as well of late. So I do think they'll win though. I think they'll get over the line in this one, maybe 1-0. So I'll back Chelsea for the 1-0 win. It's a tough one from an FPL perspective, who to pick, because there's no one from Chelsea that's really standing out right now. Obviously Mason Mount. We've had patches of Sterling, Aubameyang at times, but no Reece James. Cucurella has been getting subbed early under Graham Potter, which I found really interesting because Potter obviously had Cucurella at Brighton, and then to see him getting subbed before half time last weekend, I know it was tactical, but even in preceding game weeks as well, it's really interesting. But I'll go with Mason Mount as the pick for this one. I think if you've got him, you just hold him for this game week. It's a fixture. I think Chelsea will come out and get the win. And it's probably one of those games that Mason Mount gets one of his goals. So I'll go 1-0 Chelsea. And then we've got Palace versus Southampton. This is another big game for FPL managers because there's the likes of Eze, Zaha, who everyone's got a lot of trust in. Guaita as well, Mark Gahey, Edouard. So there's a lot to play for in this game. But Palace for me, I think, they're very sort of mid-table. Hot and cold. You never quite know what you're going to get. They got, beaten quite convincingly last week by Everton. Southampton as well, another one. Good result against Arsenal. But again, very up and down. So you probably look at this and think it's going to be a 1-0, 1-1 type of game. I'll go with 1-1. And I'll go with Eze as my pick. I think for his price and for the points he's been getting, and I will touch on Eze a little bit later on, I think Eze is the man to have for this game and from this fixture. So I'll go 1-1 in that one. And then we've got Newcastle versus Aston Villa. Newcastle obviously coming off a good result last weekend against Tottenham. Villa coming off a good result against Brentford. No manager. But sometimes teams, when they don't have a manager, they've got the interim manager, they can be quite dangerous, especially, winning 4-0 last week. Danny Ings getting on the score sheet again. So I've got a feeling there could be some goals in this game. I will back Newcastle to win though, and I'll go with 2-1. But I do think Villa will score. I think they'll have a little bit more energy now Maybe they feel like there's a bit more of a release without Gerrard. But I'll back Newcastle to win, and I think Callum Wilson is the pick from this fixture. So if you need another striker, you need a third striker, you can upgrade Solanke to Wilson if you've got the funds. I think that's a really good one for this weekend. Before we move on to the remaining fixtures, just welcome to the stream, Shireen. I know you sent through some Q&A, so I'll be going through the Q&A at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned, and we will go through that shortly. Let's go on to Fulham versus Everton. This is another one. Everton, they've looked pretty solid at times at the back this season. I've got a couple of really good assets in there for these types of fixtures, some cheap enablers in the midfield with the likes of Gray and Gordon. But the one man I think is going to be good for this fixture is Iwobi. I didn't think I'd be saying that, but he's been hitting some big scores lately. He's very cheap, very low owned. Fulham are letting goals in. They let 2 in against Leeds last week as well. Look, Pereira is obviously a great pick at the moment. I think we'll all be playing him this week. There's still Mitrovic. But just to pick someone different, I think I'm going to back Iwobi to be a good pick for this week. Looks to be on good form, and I think this will be an open game. I think I'll go with with maybe a 2-2 draw. I can see there being some goals in this. I can't see it being as drab as what people might think. So I'll go with a 2-2 at Craven Cottage, and that game is one of the late kickoffs, and then you've got an even later kickoff, which is the Liverpool Leeds game. This is another interesting game because you've got a Leeds team that can't buy a win at the moment. I think they've scored 3 goals in 7 games. Really, really struggling. They've obviously lost Calvin Phillips, Rafinha. Bamford's not been fit. So they're really, really struggling with the lineup and the squad. And they've brought a lot of players in. But, how many of them really know the Premier League? How many of them are good enough for the Premier League? I think it's just going to be sort of a wait and see with Leeds. And then on the flip side, you've got Liverpool, winning in the Champions League with ease and for fun. But then in the league, just struggling, to get consistent results. And we saw them lose last week against Forest. And they do obviously have a lot of injuries as well. But I do think this is a good game for Liverpool to bounce back from last week's Forest result, get the win, score some goals. Leeds is just the type of team at the moment that, they're open at the back. I think Liverpool will win this one. I don't think it's going to be a huge score. I can't see it being a 3 or a 4 sort of nil type of game. But I will back them. I'd like to say, I'll go with 2-0. I'll go with 2-0. And Salah's obviously got this great record in this fixture. He scored a hat-trick in this before. Loves a goal against Leeds. Hasn't been doing it in the Premier League, but has been doing it in the Champions League. I really hope this is the week for us managers that own Salah, that he can come out and get the points, the double-digit scores, especially if we get that news that Haaland can't play. Or Haaland might not start, or we don't get the concrete info, then Salah owners might then want to captain Salah. And it hasn't paid off lately, but this could be the one that it does. So I'm going to back Liverpool 2-0, and I'm going to back a Salah return, hopefully at least a goal and an assist with some bonus to top it off. So that's all of the Saturday games. Obviously, 8 matches, big list of games, lots of FPL players and points to play for. We are only 3 game weeks away from the World Cup. So, it's going to be absolutely huge. Just before I preview the next 2 games, if you are watching the stream, if you can just give it a like, it'd be absolutely awesome. If you can subscribe, if you haven't done already, and if you just hit the notification bell if you are subscribed so you don't miss an upload. And get your comments and get your questions in. I can see one's coming from Jermaine Edwards. He's just asked me to thank Q, actually. So Q was going to come on the stream tonight, so but he couldn't make it, unfortunately. But he just said, please thank Q for me, Matt. Now on 3K rank since playing my free hit in Game Week 12. So really good to hear. I remember when we did the podcast a few game weeks ago, and we spoke about the free hit because obviously Arsenal didn't play City, I think it was. And you had a lot of injuries for the midweek game. You've used it. Q was adamant on using the free hit, and you've obviously done really well, mate. So congrats. That's really good news. If you've got any other questions for this game week, get them in the comments. Anyone that's watching, get them in the comments. It would be great to go through some Q&A whilst we are live tonight. And like I mentioned, we do have the World Cup in a few game weeks' time. So I am looking to do a World Cup fantasy league. maybe some fantasy league World Cup sort of content as well. So yeah, if you're interested in joining, just let me know in the comments if that interests you. Yeah, it should be a really good, enjoyable game, the World Cup Fantasy, because UEFA games are really, really different to FPL. But let's go on to the last two fixtures. We've got Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest at the Emirates. Forest have hit a little bit of form really lately. Couple of games with 2 clean sheets. Beat Liverpool last week. Got the draw away at Brighton. Arsenal obviously been on good form this season. Did lose in the Europa, but they did rest a few players. There's a lot of talk about their squad's too thin. There's not enough players in there. They're not going to be able to sort of do the Thursday to Sundays as they progress in the Europa. But look, you'd expect them to win this game. Even though Forest have had the week off, you'd still expect Arsenal to come out and win this one quite comfortably. I'm going to back them. I think they'll win it by at least 2-0. I think Saka is the pick from this game. I think, if you can get Saka in, I think he's a really good pick for this one. I think Jesus, if you've still got him, you kind of keep him now as well. Martinelli, Saliba. So there's a lot of players to sort of pick from for this game. Potentially Gabriel is injured, so that's one to keep your eyes on. We'll wait for some more news on that, but he was limping out of the stadium last night when they obviously lost to PSV. But I think Arsenal will win this one, and I think Saka for me is the one to have. So if you can make that move, say Jared Bowen, who's got an injury at the moment, might not play. It's not confirmed that he's out. Moyes has said that he's just got a little bit of an ankle knock. But if you want to make that move, you could go Bowen to Saka. On the flip side, though, with Bowen, he's got a couple of really good fixtures coming up after this. So if he is fit for those, you still might want to try and keep him if you've got some bench cover. But I'm going to back Arsenal to win that one. And then the last game of the weekend, we've got Manchester United versus West Ham. This is going to be a interesting game, this. West Ham have picked up on some of their results lately. Obviously won last week. Man United, definitely improved from last season. Some patchy results still, but, they've definitely slightly improved. They've made some big signings as well with Anthony and the like. I know he caused a bit of controversy last night with his spins and his skills on the ball. But I actually think he could be a good pick for this Man United West Ham game. Every time I watch Anthony for United, he's always getting shots off on goal. Very accurate shots, a lot of shots on target as well. So I'm really liking Anthony for this game at Old Trafford. I'm also liking Rashford. I think Rashford's a good pick for this one as well. Especially if he plays in that kind of centre forward position. So there's a couple of good options here. If you've got Bowen and you're looking at, potentially moving him on and you don't feel like going Saka, you can even look at a move for a Man United player and go for Rashford and go for Anthony, because Man United do play Villa away next week as well, which has potential to be quite an open game. So I think that could be potentially a good move. That's the fixture preview. Before I move on, I've actually had a couple more questions come in, which is great. There's been one from SinyQPS3. I will answer that question, mate, at the end. I'm going to go through a Q&A. So please, everyone get your questions in now. I've seen Ralph Sharp has one as well about Salah. And I'll go through that at the end as well. So get all your questions in for the game week. Ask them in the comments. You can talk amongst yourselves as well about the game week and your predictions. And like I said as well, if you are new here and you've just tuned in, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and get your comments in. And let's talk all things game week 14. PSB, good evening, mate. Hope you're doing great. I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. I'm a bit disappointed with the Spurs not getting the win in the Champions League. I thought it was very controversial at the end. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. But look, I think, we're getting to the point with the VAR and the technology where, I think the officials need to be stronger on the pitch. And there needs to be some sort of, I don't know if it's, I've had a few mates and I've seen a few people suggest, you get 30 seconds to make the decision and the on-field ref's got to make the decision, not someone in the room. But yeah, that's a whole topic for another time, but I'm good. Other than that, I'm pretty good, mate. I'm pretty good. And you've come out and you've said that you're gonna hammer the hammers. Yeah, look, I think actually I didn't do my score prediction, did I? I think United will win the game. United tend to sort of screw West Ham a little bit over at home. I remember last season where it was that real late pen for United, and it was a real hammer blow, I guess, for the Hammers in that one. So I think you'll win this one. I think it'll be 2-1. I think maybe someone like Scamacca might grab a goal for West Ham, but Man United will edge it 2-1. So keep your eyes on Anthony and Rashford for this game. 2-1 to Man United is my prediction. So that's the fixture preview. Let's go on to some differential picks now. So let's go through some differentials, some captains, a curveball captain, and my player pick for the game week. So the player pick for the game week is the player I think, is the must-have for the game week. I normally pick up on obviously the base of form and fixture. For this one, it's really attacking the fixture, but I'll go through that in a sec. Let's start with the differentials. So I've picked 3 that I think, if you are looking to do something a bit different, I think these 3 players, if you've got the space for one of them, could be really good for the game week. So I've gone Iwobi, who I did mention in the Fulham Everton preview, away at Fulham. He's 1.6% owned, and in his last 6 games, he's returned 4 times. He's 5.5 million, and 2 of those returns have been a double-digit score. Huge points, more than Salah, more than I think what we've seen even De Bruyne get in the last sort of 4 or 5 game weeks. Incredible stuff from Alex Iwobi. I didn't think I'd be putting him in a differential section anytime soon, but I am. I think he is a really good pick for this one, especially if you've got that extra midfield spot. And he's such a good price as well. So I'm really liking Iwobi this week. Next one I'm going to go. This one's actually, look, technically it was so Quinton, who couldn't join me tonight from the FPL Amateurs of Oz. He loves this player. He put him in his team a couple of weeks ago, and he's really benefited from this. So it's kind of I'm going to dedicate this one to Q. It's Eze from Palace, 4.8% owned, home to Southampton. He's had 25 points in his last 4 games, with 2 double-digit scores, both 10 points. He's outperforming Zaha. He's looking lively. He's getting in and around the box. He's getting shots off goal. I think he's a great pick. Good few fixtures as well for West Ham up until for Palace. Up until the break. They've got West Ham away next week, London derby. Palace have got a good record at the London Stadium this week. Southampton at home. Like I said in the fixture preview, as a team, they're quite up and down. So I think Eze is a really good pick in that midfield as a differential. And then my last differential for this week, he was the man I picked from my Newcastle Villa game. Is Callum Wilson. He's still only 2.4% owned. And I understand it because, there's Tony, there's Kane, there's Haaland. We've had Solanke. We've had a lot of people signing Scamacca. We've got Gabriel Jesus. But Wilson's on pens. Newcastle are playing very well. And look, I know we all get scared of his injuries. He's had 3 returns in his last 5 games, and he's very, very low owned. Look, I could go on a bit of a limb here, but if we do get some news in the next, I think it's the next 7 minutes is when we're going to get this Pep Guardiola conference. If we get news that maybe Haaland's got a bit more than, just a knock or a fever, and there's a few weeks out or something like that, this could be a move. I know a lot of people will go straight to Kane, but Newcastle are on very good form. This is a good fixture for Wilson at home to Villa, and he's really getting returns. So I'm really liking the Wilson pick for this week. So that's the 3 differentials. If there's any others you recommend, put them in the comments. And I'm just going to bring up this comment from PSB. He just said, those who are in the stream, please hit a like and subscribe. If you've not already, thank you. Mate, thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. Obviously, you're a consistent watcher of the streams, and you contribute a lot as well because you've got great knowledge. And if you don't follow PSB, check him out on Twitter. Does really good captain threads this week. PSB, actually, if you don't mind, put your captains in. I'm about to do my captains now. But yeah, put your top 3 captains in. That doesn't include Haaland. And I'll read them out on the stream. It'd be awesome to see what you think for this week. PSB was in the top, I think, 50 or 60 managers in the world last season for captain points, which is just a phenomenal stat. So yeah, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on captains that aren't Haaland for this week. Obviously, if we end up going against him. But let's go my captains. I've got 3, which include Haaland. And then I've got, the other 3 that don't include Haaland. So I've gone, Haaland's obviously number 1 if he's fully fit and we think he's going to start. And then I'm going to go Harry Kane as the second one. Great goal scoring record against Bournemouth. He's getting consistent points every week this season without getting sort of the double digits, scores that we've seen him get in the past, but he's still getting consistent points, and he's still only, I think, about 24% selected or somewhere around there. So you can still get a huge green arrow if Kane does well as your captain. And then third, I'm going to go Salah. Great record against Leeds. I know he's not been on form in the Premier League. I know it's a broken record about when is Salah going to return points, but I think this is the fixture. If we can't captain Haaland this week, this could be the fixture for him. So that's my captains with Haaland. My captains without Haaland, I'm going to go Kane 1, Salah 2, and then third, it's going to be Saka. And I'm also going to put Jesus kind of equal with him. So I think they're all the really good captains. If you don't end up captaining Haaland. My curveball captain for the week is Saka from Arsenal. Looks like he's on pens for them. I know there's people saying he rotates with Martinelli. Arsenal fans might want to correct me in the comments. Obviously, they will know a lot more than me about their team. But I think Saka, good fixture. I'm going to play the fixture on this one. I think he's a really good curveball captain. Still only 16% selected. So I think he is a really good, really good pick for this week. So I'm going to bring up some comments as well that have come up. I'll bring up PSB's captain comments in a second as well. Comment from Football Ferreira. Big up, brother. Great to have you in the stream again, mate. Obviously, I watched some of your streams in the week. And some of your Champions League stuff was brilliant this week. I love your passion. And any of my viewers that are watching, give Football Ferreira a subscribe on YouTube, and it would be absolutely awesome if you can. And he just advised, smash the likes, people. Great stream as usual. Thanks, mate. And smash the like. Yeah. So if you are watching, just give the video a like and a subscribe and get your comments in. It's all appreciated, and the support is all very much appreciated. Let's bring in this comment from PSB. I'll bring his captains up first, just before I bring that one up, because I did ask for his captains. As he says, 1 Salah, 2 Kane, and 3 Saka are his top 3 captain picks if Haaland isn't playing. So similar to mine. Obviously, I've reversed Kane and Salah. But yeah, good choices there, PSB. If you've got a curveball captain as well, throw it in the comments as well. If anyone else has got a curveball captain, put it in the comments. Maybe Tony from Brentford, with the Wolves game at home. And he also mentioned if Haaland is out, I'm really tempted to go Saka, but I guess I will go Salah instead. I'm in a similar boat. So that is that's the differentials. That's the captains. My player pick as well, which is going to be Saka against Forest. So he's my player pick for the week. I've had some questions come in the comments, so I'm going to go through all those now. This is the Q&A time, so if you've got questions, get them in for this game week. We'll be doing all the Q&A now, and I've also had a couple of questions that come in from my Instagram followers, which I'll go through first. Just a couple of other quick ones that come in. PSB said his curveball captain is Darwin Núñez. I love that. He scored a header again in the week in the Champions League. I really like him as an FPL pick. Good pick as a curveball. FPL Penguin, welcome to the stream, mate. Great to have you in here. I actually watched your stream, and I did see. So for those that don't subscribe to FPL Penguin, go check him out. Subscribe. He's been doing YouTube streams for about 4 years now. I actually tuned into your stream the other night. I watched it. I really enjoyed it, and then I caught the end as well, where you mentioned you might be looking to just take a bit of a break from FPL, which was sad to hear. But everyone sometimes need that recharge. But look, if you do take the break, then best of luck. I really hope to see you back again soon, mate. And if you don't, I'll keep tuning into the stream. So welcome to the stream, mate. It's great to have you in. Let me know your thoughts as well, mate. You're obviously a big Liverpool fan. So let me know your thoughts on Darwin Núñez for this week. Do you think he's a good pick? Because I've had a few people suggest that he is a good pick for this week, and even as a captain if Haaland can't play. So let's go into some Q&A. I've had quite a few coming in the comments, which is awesome. So I had a question that came in from Rayhan Jr. on Instagram. He said, Haaland or Kane, who should I captain? I said Haaland or Kane, who should he captain? And then who is my captain? Okay, so if Haaland's fit, if this interview that Pep's doing, I think it's about to start now in the press conference, and says he's fit and he's fine to play, we think he's going to start, I'd be saying Haaland. So Haaland over Kane for me. And then if Haaland does get the injury, then you obviously just captain Kane. Who's my captain? At the moment, it's Haaland. If Haaland doesn't pass the fitness test, doesn't play, then it's probably going to have to be Salah for me. Because I'm just due a return from Salah, and I really like the Leeds game for him. And I'm just going to keep giving Salah chances until I finally get the big returns again. So great question, thanks. And then I had one from Shireen Mia Khan as well. She's a regular on the streams. This is actually a really good question. So she asked, thoughts on Alvarez for this week only for Edouard. Do you know what? I actually really like that. If Haaland doesn't play and we can get some early team news before deadline, I actually really like that move. Because you could do it for a week. You'd hope he'd start. And we've seen it when he plays. He's been getting goals. He's had a couple of double-digit scores. So I actually really like that. But I really like a punt and a differential. So really good question. All right. So just before I go through all the questions that are coming on the Q&A, if everyone who's tuned in now can just hit the like and subscribe and get some more questions in. I want to quickly bring this one up from Brandon. He's come in and he said, Guardiola on Haaland. He feels better. We have training this afternoon and we will assess. We will see how he feels in his foot, and after we will decide. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. You read that and you think, you want to see if he ends up in training photos. Will they put it on? I always check the Instagrams, the websites, the forums, and if there is if there is pictures of Haaland sort of smiling in training and he looks fine, then yeah, you just play him and captain him, I'd assume. But yeah, interesting one. It's tough. You never get a full answer from Pep, do you? Just as PSP's just said, vintage Pep, he doesn't give anything away. And he's also said, I'd be cautious going for any United asset, Brandon. United need to beat Sociedad away. There must have been a comment about United above. There we go. All right. I'll bring up that comment in a second, PSP, once I've gone through the other questions. So let's go through the questions that have come in on the stream. All right. So we've had Bowen or Maddison out, which was from Sini QPS3. I'd say Bowen because he's potentially got this ankle injury. Don't think he's going to play this week. He has got two really good games after this. But I guess if you don't have the bench, I'd probably say swap Bowen out for, say, a Saka. If you don't have Saka, and then keep Maddison. Despite it being against Man City, Maddison can score in any moment. Maddison actually got a double-digit score. I think he got 16 points at the Etihad last season. And they lost the game 6-3, but he still got goals. So look, I'd be sort of swaying more towards taking out Bowen, especially if he's not going to play. But yeah, really good question. And then we had the one from Ralph Sharp. How do you think Salah will perform against Leeds? I actually don't know. It's hard to say with Salah because when I watch him in the Champions League, he's scoring these outrageous goals. Really good finishes, looking like the Salah that we all know. And then when he's in the Premier League, he's either really far out wide, sort of hugging the touchline, or he's just not getting involved in the game. So it's hard. Look, he is in my team. Leeds aren't winning games. Leeds are conceding goals. Liverpool versus Leeds traditionally is a very high scoring game. Historically, we've seen a number of these games. We've seen a couple of 4-3s in Premier League history. So look, I'll back him. I'll back Salah. I think he'll perform because I think there will be goals in this game, and I think it'll be end to end. Neither team are defending the best of late either. So let's go for a big Salah score, shall we? And then Brandon come in and just said Rashford in for Barnes and Kane captain. That's an interesting one with Barnes because he's obviously been on good form. He's got a couple of goals over the last couple of games. But if you feel you've got enough use out of him now, if you're at a point and you think, look, my luck's done now with Barnes. I've had 2 games, 2 returns. I'll take it and I'll move on and I'll sort of attack the next couple of fixtures to the World Cup. You obviously get West Ham at home out of Rashford, so a game at Old Trafford, and then you get Villa away next week as well. Rashford's in sort of centre forward position too. Then it's probably not the worst idea. So I don't mind it. I don't think you necessarily need to do it. But I don't dislike it. And I like Kane captain if we don't think Haaland's going to start. So, I don't mind that at all. And then we did actually have this response from PSB to that, though. PSB's a big Manchester United fan. And he said, I'd be cautious going for any United asset, Brandon. United need to beat Sociedad away to go top of the group, to go directly to the round of 16. They'll field a strong side. Tiredness might be an issue. So there you go. There's always that threat as well. For those United players. So there you go. Good luck with your decision, Brandon. Question that come in from Demetrius. Hello, should I sell Bowen for Zaha or bench Bowen for Andreas? I'd play Andreas. You could always start, you could technically start Bowen if he might just pop up and play, right? But if you don't want to take that risk, I'd bench Bowen. Hope that he's fit next week. With the Palace home game, because then they've got Leicester at home after that. You're getting back-to-back home games. And then I'd bring in Andreas. Same as a question we had earlier where it was Maddison or Bowen out. I would try and keep Bowen if you can, if you don't have any bench cover. But I'd play Andreas based on his form. Fulham are scoring goals. I think that game against Everton is going to be the sort of a 2-2 draw. So I'd probably just... play Andreas. You've got bench cover there. You've got someone in form. Good question. And it's good you've got options on your bench. Question from Alex Itch. Should I start a Zaha or a Mount? Oh, this is a tough one. Because I did say earlier, I feel Chelsea might win 1-0 and it'll be Mason Mount that gets the goal. But you've got to start Zaha at home against Southampton. This game... potential to be a 2-1 Palace or 1-1. Zaha is on pens. You've got to play the pen taker. You've got to play the home game. Chelsea are the stronger side, but if I had to pick between the two, it's a tough call. I'd still play Zaha, but it's tough. It's tough. There's not much in it. If there's a way you can play both and drop someone else, I don't know if you've got another player that you could potentially drop. Then look, I'm guessing if you've got Haaland and you don't think he's going to play or start the game, you could potentially play both of them and drop Haaland if you want. But look, if I had to pick between the two, it'd be Zaha this week. And then we just had a question from Jermaine. De Bruyne or Salah, have to play my wild card, but not making many changes. All right, I've got the fixtures up here. I'm just going to quickly share screen. And this will help make a decision. Look, I'd say this week, I like the Salah game. I think this Leicester game is a good one for City, but I prefer Liverpool-Leeds. I think it'll be an open game. Leeds' defence has just not been up to scratch or up to standard. So I think Salah. But then next week, City-Fulham, right? Spurs-Liverpool. So then you'd look at it and think, De Bruyne for that, and then City, Brentford, Liverpool, Saints. Salah probably edges that. I think Brentford's a probably slightly tougher game than Southampton. Yeah, I'd probably say over the 3 games. Yeah. Salah, I think. I'd go with Salah. I'd go with Salah, and then if you don't have any transfers booked for next week, you could always put De Bruyne in for the Fulham game at home and then go back to Salah the week after, or just keep De Bruyne anyway. But I'd definitely be going with Salah for this week. Another question from Alexich. Should I transfer Shah to Gabriel from Arsenal? Do you have Shah or do you have Gabriel? Sorry, because Gabriel's got an injury, they reckon, from Arsenal. So you definitely don't want to transfer him in. If you're looking at transferring in Shah for Gabriel, I would probably, let's look at these fixtures again. So you've got Newcastle, Villa this week, away to Saints next week. They got this one, Chelsea at home. Yeah, look, I'd probably just go sideways with Arsenal. You could even get Ben White in if you can afford Saliba. Maybe go Saliba. Yeah, I don't think that's a move I'd make. If you're actually talking about transferring Gabriel in for Shah, then I wouldn't do that. And then I'd probably just keep Shah. But if you're looking at saying Gabriel to Shah because Gabriel was injured, I wouldn't do it. I'd probably just go sideways to another Arsenal defender against Forest. And you've also just asked, should I play Alisson over Jose Sarr? Liverpool Leeds. Brentford Wolves. I'd still back Alisson at home. I'd back Alisson. Leeds have scored 3 goals in, I think it's 6 or 7 games now. Alisson's got an assist. So he got an assist a couple of game weeks ago. He got a penalty save the week after. I'd always be playing Alisson. I do like Jose Sarr, but Wolves are a mess at the moment. They've been letting goals in. They still haven't got a manager. Brentford have been pretty good at home. So I'll be playing Alisson in that one, mate. FPL Roo, welcome to the stream, mate. Go check FPL Roo out as well if you haven't done already. I think I might have mentioned it in my Champions League stream, but I'm going to look to link up with him soon and hopefully join him on one of his streams. Another Aussie-based Spurs fan as well, which is great, and another Aussie-based content creator. So he's just said no questions. He's pretty set with only playing my wildcard last week. Raya, Trippier, White, Cancelo. So he's obviously got a very strong defence and keeper. Saka, Martinelli. So he's doubling up on Arsenal against Forest, which is bold, but I think it makes sense for this game week. So he's obviously attacking this game week with his wild card. Salah, Foden, Tony, Mitrovic, and Haaland. So he's got a very strong squad, very template squad, but it's good and it's strong. If you're watching the stream now, check out FPL Roo's team here. If there's any other suggestions you think he should have, let him know in the comments. But having a look at that, I think it's a really good wild card. I know you're a Spurs fan, and as am I, so I would say if you can find a way for Harry Kane, it would be pretty cool if you could. But yeah, look, very, very strong side. I also had another question from Lexich as well. Do I drop Andreas as to play Zaha and Mount? I think it was my team. It's tough because Fulham are at home, but I probably would. I just look at Mount, right? And I think with Mount, although Chelsea haven't been a huge attacking threat at times this season, I feel like Mount's their best attacking threat in that side, along with probably Sterling. And if Chelsea score, it tends to be Mount. I actually probably would do that. But again, go with your gut, mate. Go with what you think. But if it was me, I'd be playing Zaha and Mount. Andreas, for me, I always look at him, despite his form, for me, he's always just an option as a sub to play when someone's injured or suspended. I know last week we all kind of got burnt because we subbed him. But I look at him and I think, if I'm looking at it, I'm playing Zaha and Mount personally. This is a good one from Ricky Cheese. Play White or Dyer. But my Spurs head would say play Dyer. But then my Spurs head would also say we're actually been conceding a few goals lately. Obviously in the week against Lisbon, against Newcastle last week. Bournemouth aren't huge scorers, but I think you've got to back the easier fixture on paper, which is Forest at home. So I would say play Ben White. I still think it's close because Dyer is such an attacking threat. I'm not even over exaggerating. He nearly had a hat-trick against Lisbon in the week. The amount of headers he got on the end of, it was one from a couple of yards out in the last 5 minutes. He should have got on target. And he's such a big attacking threat. But I'd probably say White. And I'd do it purely based on the fixture. Another comment that's come in from Lexich. Do I drop Andreas so as to play Zaha and Mount together? And should I play Alisson? Yeah. So the ones we just covered. Yeah, Zaha and Mount, and then I'd play Alisson. Onto the ball. Welcome to the stream, mate. Obviously, you've got a great channel, mate. I've been watching a lot of your streams lately, and I've really been enjoying them. 5-0 Liverpool is his prediction. So if you are a Salah owner, here we go. We've got onto the ball who thinks Liverpool are going to win 5-0. So, could be the week for him. And then Brandon has come in and said Robertson to Hall. Surely he starts based on his Champions League performance. I think he does. And Robertson was actually one of my differentials for this week with his low ownership. And I looked at it and thought, yeah, you know what? Like, he could be good if you've got still got money in your defense or in your team, and you can just do a straight swap, and put him in. I was thinking, Robertson is actually a good pick for this week. But I didn't do him in the differentials in the end. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I just think it's because we've not seen enough clean sheets. I know with Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, it's their attacking returns. That is also what we have them for. But yeah, I just looked at it and thought, like, they're just not keeping enough clean sheets to be worth their value. And they also weren't getting the attacking returns. So yeah, maybe this could be the week he comes back and hauls. So yeah, good pick. And onto the ball said he will start. So there you go. Got some bit of confirmation there in the comments. FPL cheers, mate. My plan is Salah to Mitro to Trossard and Kane next week. Then go Tony to Darwin in 16 to cover Liverpool against Southampton at home. I think that's good. And I think as well, by the time game week 16 comes around, a couple of game weeks time, we'll know by then as well, like, how much do we need a Liverpool asset? Do we really need them? Because right now, almost feels like we don't need them. But we want them still because it's Liverpool. And we know how good they can be on their day. We know how good they've been in fantasy Premier League for years now. So it's always one. I feel like we probably don't need them right now, but we want them because we know when Liverpool turn it on at home or turn it on in any game, their players can get massive scores. And then Lexich just said, that's my team for now. Alisson, Trippier, White, Cancelo, Almiron. Almiron's someone I haven't spoke about, actually. Interesting, because he obviously got the big haul last week. He's had quite a few big hauls now. And I did speak about him. So there was the blank game week. After we had the blank game week for the Queen, there was the one the week after. And Almiron was my differential that week. And then I decided to go Coutinho, which was an awful move. But, I did it for a couple of game weeks and got rid of him. And I went him over Almiron. And Almiron since then's got, I think it was 30 or 25 to 30 more points than what Coutinho would have. So, yeah, my own mistake. But Almiron's absolutely smashed it. He's someone I not really spoke about. So he's another one that you could look at this week with the Villa home game. And obviously Newcastle have got 3 good fixtures left until the World Cup. But he said Almiron, Zaha, Saka, Haaland, Mitro, Kane. Any opinions? And I have one free transfer. Mate, that's a great lineup. I wouldn't even be touching that. I'd probably just keep it. Like, you've got the keeper, you've got Trippier, Cancelo sorted, you've got Arsenal defensive coverage, Almiron's on form, Zaha has the fixture this week that we've probably all been waiting for with Zaha. Saka, he's the player pick for this week. Haaland, okay, we're not sure if he's going to play or not, but I think you mentioned that you might have Andreas on your bench anyway, Mitrovic and Kane. So I'll just be rolling, mate, and keeping 2 more transfers ready for next week. FPL rooting with my team. I'm hoping for a Forest 1-0 win. So am I. Sorry for all the Arsenal fans that are tuned in. But yeah, we are both Spurs fans, myself and FPL root. So yeah, we do want to. We don't always obsess over FPL. We do like to put our clubs first. And Lixich said he's Mount also in my team. You've got a strong squad, mate. You've got a very, very strong squad, and you've definitely got some decisions to make for this week. Onto the ball. Thanks, Matt. Massive appreciation. Anytime, mate. I think when I tuned into one of your streams the other day, yeah, you had a really good panel of people on there, and I really enjoyed watching it. I think the guest you had, though, was an Arsenal fan, I think. So, yeah, maybe I'll have to come on and add some Spurs fans in there. But, yeah, we are both Spurs fans, myself and FPL root. So, yeah, we do want to. We don't always obsess over FPL. We do like to put our clubs first. And Lixich said he's Mount also in my team. You've got a strong squad, mate. You've got a very, very strong squad, and you've definitely got some decisions to make for this week. Onto the ball. Thanks, Matt. Massive appreciation. Anytime, mate. But Brandon's coming with his team. And just before I go through this, if you are tuning into the podcast now, get your questions in the Q&A, because this is the live Q&A now. We've done the preview, we've done the differentials, we've done our picks, we've done the score lines and everything. So get all your questions in now. We've just done a big roundup of questions, but yeah, keep them coming in. Give the video a like. Really appreciate it if everyone who's tuned in can like the video. Subscribe as well if you haven't done. If you can subscribe. You know, I do these vlogs every week. I do the threads on Twitter as well, FPL Matt Day. I do the Champions League podcast next week. And there's also lots of other FPL content around it, short videos, you know, captain videos, best picks and that type of thing. So yeah, keep the notifications on and subscribe, and get yourself in the comments. It'd be great to get more interaction in there and get some questions for the week. But let's go through Brandon's team. So he's got Zunu in goal from Southampton, Robertson, Cancelo, Trippier in defence. So he's got a strong defence. He's back in Robertson. So yeah, it could be a huge differential for you this week. Bazunu in goal as well. I guess you'll be hoping for a 0-0 in the Southampton Palace game. Or maybe even now I've seen your midfield, you've got Zaha, maybe 1-0 Zaha goal and Bazunu to make about 12 saves. You've got Martinelli, Foden, Zaha, Rashford or Barnes midfield. I'd probably say Rashford for this week. And then Haaland, Mitrovic and Kane. Captain, that's bold. He's doing the Kane captain. Bench, Ward, Andreas, Nico Williams and Soufal. Strong squad. Very strong squad. Like it. And to be honest, if that was my team, that's exactly what I would play as well. Yeah, I'd play Rashford over Barnes. And I'll put Andreas first sub. So really good squad. And then, yeah, he was Stonehold against him. Yeah, I noticed it. But yeah, your stream was still awesome, mate. And Lexic, thanks, mate. What was your team for Game Week 14 and transfer plans to the World Cup? It's actually a good question. I did say I was going to go through my transfer. And I haven't. So let's do it now. Well, my team's obviously been on really bad form this season, so a lot of red arrows. But this is the team for the week. So I've got Raya, Cancelo, Trippier, Gahey. So I'm hoping for Palace to actually keep a clean sheet, please. Salah, Zaha, Foden, Saka, Andreas, and then Tony and Haaland. So I've actually got a good lineup for this week. At the moment, I'm rolling my transfer. If I can get some intel in the next 24 hours that Haaland might not start, that captain's armband will change to Salah. Haaland will drop to the bench, and then Kilman will likely be replaced by Ben White or Saliba from Arsenal for the Forest game. Or if I'm feeling brave, I could go Haaland to Kane. But I don't know if I want to have to bring Haaland back. Yeah, just... It all just depends, because like you said, my transfer plans for game week 14 and beyond, so game week 15, I'm going to have to bring Haaland back, right? And I'm going to have enough money in the bank and value to be able to bring him back for the Fulham game, because he's obviously going to be my captain. And that's why my rank suffered this season, because I didn't have Haaland when he was going through all those hat tricks. I did have him on the first day of the season. And then I used an early wild card and thought De Bruyne was going to be a better pick. Yeah, it was mental, but here we are anyway. Still loving and enjoying the game though this season. But yeah, I think looking at that, Haaland would have to come back if I was going to move him for Kane next week. But if I didn't, and say I just did the Saliba move this week and I had one transfer for next week, looking at those fixtures, I'm just looking at the screen next to me. I may even move on Bowen to Saka, or Maddison from Saka, because I don't like the Chelsea Arsenal game. Although there is Wolves Arsenal game week 16, but then there's Leicester or Bowen, you get that game out of them as well. So it's a tough one. I'm hoping Slanky's fit for this one in 15. So then I can keep him. Otherwise, if I had two transferred and rolled this week, I would probably look to bring in maybe Callum Wilson for this game. And then I'd probably try and downgrade someone somewhere, but I don't know where I'd be able to do it. Maybe Zaha for Almiron could be the move. Zaha's next 2, but then I want Zaha for 16 against Forest. My team's actually at a point where, my team's kind of at a point where like it's now kind of coming together in terms of the squad I've got, but and there's not actually a huge amount of transfers I want to make. But you just never know. Suspensions, injuries, because you got to remember there's Champions League, Europa Conference, Carabao Cup's coming up. All these games are going to be coming up before the World Cup. That, I'm probably looking at if I can keep as many transfers as I can over the last 3 weeks. It could be worth it. But I've got some predicted points on here as well. They're saying Haaland's going to get 18 points as captain. Tony predicted 4.4, Saka 7.8, Foden 9.8, Salah 5, Gahey only 2. We'll see how this game week goes. It's either going to be a roll of the transfer for me and save 2 for next week, or it could be Saliba or Ben White for Kilman or Kane for Haaland. I could just do it and then bring Haaland back. We will see. Brandon's come in. Plot your future transfers. It's one of them now because you've got 3 more game weeks. So you kind of just look at it and think, let's just attack them as much as we can as well. Because once the World Cup's there, you get a nice break. We'll play some World Cup fantasy. We'll all get involved. And then after that, you get unlimited transfers. So you kind of start the season again in a way. But look, if you are all, everyone that's watching and you're all interested in playing World Cup Fantasy League, then I will create a league and I'll create a code. So stay tuned on the video so you don't miss the World Cup Fantasy League videos and the league I'm going to do. I'll also have it on my Twitter, FPL Matt Day. So go give me a follow, FPL Matt Day on Instagram. And Brandon's come in and said his is going to be Mitrovic to DCL in game week 15. That's an interesting one. I'm just having a look at Fulham's last 2 fixtures up until the World Cup. City away and Man United home. Yeah, I get that. Look, I actually don't mind the United home game for Fulham. City away, obviously, you always look at City games as a write-off, but they're not always keeping clean sheets as much this season. They did concede at home to Brighton last week. Everyone sort of took out Trossard and then he went and scored. But DCL, interesting one because obviously Everton, we mentioned earlier, they've got some good fixtures. Calvert-Lewin looked really sharp last week. Me personally, I've had some really bad luck with DCL. So the first year when it was the lockdown year, that DCL really sort of come onto the scene in FPL and looked really good. I never had him during the hot streak. And then what happened towards the end of the season is I put him in all ready for a double game week. And I did an early transfer. Funnily enough, Everton were playing Spurs in the FA Cup. It was like a Wednesday night. And I went to put Calvert-Lewin in my team. And I always say to myself, never do it in the midweek. Never, ever do it. They could get injured, but I was scared of a price rise. Calvert-Lewin had a great game. Everton won 3-2, I think, after extra time. Calvert-Lewin had the best game, goal and assist. But after an hour, he got subbed off with an injury and he was ruled out. And I had to then take a -4 to bring him out because I had no one else on my bench. Then last season, Calvert-Lewin again. I think it was a double game week. Or maybe it was a single game week. That's right, it was a single game week. It was a double game week. He had a really good first fixture. And it was the one where he come back in and he missed the pen. So I have no luck with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But I hope you have better luck because when he's on form, he's a good asset to own in FPL because he always gets the bonus because he's one of Everton's main players. Question that's coming from Lexich. Any other options for Nico Williams with 1.4 million in the bank for game week 15 and 16? With Nico Williams, for me, he's just set and forget in my team. Like, I'm just going to have a look now. Let's bring up the share screen again. For me, like, I look at him and just think, set and forget. He stays in there for the season. He's cheap. He's cheerful. There's some fixtures for him that you can start him in. There's some fixtures that you probably don't want to start him in. But for me, like, I think you can just keep him, mate. 15 against Brentford, 16 against Palace at home. There could be some potential in there. We can always go to the transfers here, and let's do a little bit of a comparison. Select a replacement for Nico. All right, it's not. There we go. Yeah, look, James Justin, 4.3. But then you got City away this week. There's not anyone that kind of springs to mind. You could look at maybe a Tarkowski, 4.4. Fulham, Leicester, and Bournemouth in the next 3 up until the World Cup. If you've got the 0.4 ready, he might be an option. There's no one that really jumps out for me. I just look at him and think, keep. Obviously, there's Ben White as well, who could be an option. We've had another one that's just come through in the comments from Alex Meacher. Tomiyasu, yeah, that's another potential option as well. He's currently 4.4. But for me, I'll just keep Nico Williams. I think you've got 2 home games after this weekend's game away at Arsenal. If you need to play him in those, you could probably play him. You might get a clean sheet. Forest have got 2 clean sheets in their last 2. But yeah, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the question, Lexich. And thanks for the comment, Alex. Great to have you in the stream. And then Fazid, welcome to the stream, mate. Solanke, Trossard out, Greenwood, Saka in for a -4. Yeah, I'd probably say it's tough because whenever people sell Trossard, he punishes us. I'm just looking at Brighton's fixture next week. Wolves away, and Arsenal of Chelsea, and then Villa home. I'd say keep Trossard. I think these next 3 fixtures, they're still good for Trossard. Chelsea's defence hasn't been the best. I know I said I was backing Chelsea to win 1-0, but you know, they still look quite vulnerable at the back. I wouldn't do a -4 for it, mate. Especially if Slanky's only got a week off. And then you get the Leeds game out of him next week. You'd rather Solanke and Trossard in game week 15 than Saka and Greenwood, in my opinion. Although I do like Saka for this fixture, I think you can still play Trossard because all it really takes is a goal against Chelsea, which he's capable of because he's got a hat-trick at Anfield. He's got a goal at the Etihad this season. All it takes is a goal, and you know, you probably could potentially get more points out of Trossard in the next 3 game weeks than Saka, especially with the -4. So, yeah, good question. Good question. Tomiyasu rotation risk from Brandon. I think he is as well. He was someone I was actually eyeing up in my team this week instead of the Saliba pick because I was looking more in the budget range. Then I saw he played in the Champions League, and then a few Arsenal fans were saying, you know, Ben White might go right back, but now Ben White will go centre back because Gabriel was injured. So then we might continue to see Tomiyasu at right back, but it would all depend on, I guess, if they play like, I don't know, Rob Holding at centre back and then Ben White onto the right as well. So yeah, there is still that rotation risk with him as well. Darwin captain. This is an interesting one. We had a lot of Darwin love tonight. We've had a lot of Darwin love. He's been a couple of people's curveball captain shout. Yeah, I think if Haaland isn't playing, or we don't think he's going to start, then yeah, Darwin's a great captain shout. I think he was PSB, who's in the stream at the moment, was his curveball captain. So yeah, that's a really good shout. Onto the ball said, yes, Alex, and only problem is he rarely does 90 minutes. That is the problem. That is the problem, and I've started to notice that. But he seems to score every start, which we just had that come in. He scores every start. So there you go. And then Matt Cowden's come in and said, Alex, I'm liking Darwin this week. He is such a maverick. Yeah, I think it's a really good shout. You know, it's a good fixture. I think the Leeds one at home. And Darwin was brilliant in the West Ham home game for Liverpool. Only come out with a goal, but he should have come out with a couple. Also hit the post in that game. PSB with a question. Best Mitrovic replacement for game week 15 to 16. Scamacca, DCL. Obviously, we spoke about Calvert-Lewin before. I just personally, I can't do it because I just get no luck with the guy. So I can't do it. Let's present these fixtures again. I'm going to say Callum Wilson, mate, just from the top of my head. I'm having a look at this. Let's go to this week. Oh, sorry, you're saying it from 15-16. So next week with Wilson, Southampton away. Great fixture for Wilson. When he was at Bournemouth, he loved this fixture. Still does at Newcastle as well. West Ham Palace, okay, good for Scamacca. Everton Leicester, good for DCL, but I still would pick Wilson out of all of those. Newcastle were the higher performing team. And then game week 16, okay, the Bournemouth fixture probably looks better for Calvert-Lewin, but then Bournemouth has still kept it tight under Gary O'Neill. Scamacca, okay, Leicester looks good at home. But even Chelsea, like I said, the defence hasn't been the best. I'm liking Wilson. I think Wilson's really good. I think Calvert-Lewin's the big gamble because he's coming back from a long-term injury. We know how he can let us down. I think Callum Wilson's showing the form and he takes pens. And I think Scamacca is just kind of the one where you look at it and think, you've got a couple of like pretty steady home games as well. So yeah, not much in it. I like all three of them, but I'm really liking Wilson. Question of Martinelli to Rashford next week. Yeah, I like that. I think see how Rashford looks in this game this weekend against West Ham. See if he is taking up that central position. Or even on the left side, because he does well when he's on that left side, cutting in. And if you like what you see, he could be a really good pick for the Villa game away next week. Tends to be a stadium that Man United do quite well at down the years, Villa Park, and do tend to score goals. That could be a good pick. And anyone tempted by Salah captain, I think quite a few of us in this stream are. I am, if Haaland isn't going to play. And I think plenty of people in this stream are very, very excited about potentially captaining someone that isn't Haaland, captaining Salah, who's got a history against Leeds, and just hoping that this is the week that he actually returns big for us. Because I remember a couple of game weeks ago, it was the West Ham game. Liverpool won 1-0. Salah had this great record against West Ham, and he didn't return. And I think a lot of people sold him off the back of that, or sold him off the back of Forest last week. So we were all hoping that if we don't captain Haaland and we captain Salah, that this is the game week that, we can climb the ranks because of him. Any news on Foden and Cancelo? I've actually been streaming during Pep's press conference. I would assume Foden's okay. I've not heard anything sort of negative about him not playing or being. I know he didn't start last week, but I'd assume this is one he plays. Cancelo, I haven't heard an update. I know they were saying he had a bit of a fever. That's one I'm probably going to have to check after the stream. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments. But look, I'm still on the stream now. I was going to wrap up, but we have got a solid amount of watchers at the moment, which is great. So get your comments in. Let's get more questions in whilst we're all watching live. It would be great if you can all just keep getting your questions in. Game week 14, game week 15, 16, whatever you want to discuss, transfers, differentials, captains. Let us know in the comments. Also, hit the like button and hit the subscribe as well. There's been plenty of new faces tonight that have joined the stream, which is great to see. So subscribe and join into the streams every week. PSB's come in and said Salah is the most sold player this game week. If he hauls big, captaining is going to shoot your rank. Yeah, I agree, mate. The thing is, I always get these. It's like you'll remember. So PSB will remember last season when I captained Son away at Aston Villa, and he got a hat trick. And I got this feeling that it was going to be a good week for Son. And it was around the time when just had come back from the AFCON. He wasn't getting the points that we've been used to sort of him getting, and I really felt it. Whereas I've not kind of been feeling it with Salah lately. But yeah, if he does haul big, it'd be good for all of our teams that own him. I obviously own him. I know you own him. So yeah, very interesting that he is the most sold player. But I feel like that would have happened prior to the Haaland news, wouldn't it? So yeah, very interesting one. It would be good if this was the week that we could captain Salah and he ends up being the the captain Salah that we all remember. The questions come in from Vignesh: Rashford or Saka for the 3 game weeks? For the 3, I would say Rashford. I think United's 3 fixtures on paper are better. But if you want proven this season and a bit more tried and trusted in terms of consistent points, chance of penalties, then I would be going Saka. But if you want to pick purely based on fixtures, I'd go Rashford. I think there's some potential there. Question from Alex: would you do Salah to Saka and Mitro to Darwin? I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. If you mean this game week, I wouldn't. Not for Salah against Leeds and not for Mitrovic against Everton. I just don't think it's worth it, mate. I think Salah already gives you the Liverpool coverage. And I think Mitrovic is good enough to hold his own against Everton. We've seen how good he's been this season. If Haaland is out, captaincy for game week 15 is going to be interesting. Potentially a rank decider. It is. Like I said, I think we've got to wait for the training pictures, see what we can find on Haaland's Instagram, City's Instagram, Blue Moon Forum, whatever you want to do to find as much info as you can. Early team news, and the whatnot. And then we can make a decision about our captain from there. The one thing we don't want to do, is just assume that Haaland isn't going to play, not captain him, and then he ends up getting in the starting lineup, and then hat trick, and then we're all feeling awful because it's still the early game as well. Remember, Alex has just said Arsenal downfall started from second half at Leeds. Watch, yeah, you know what? Arsenal in that second half at Leeds, they really, really rode their luck. Leeds missed the pen. I don't know how they didn't score, but Arsenal obviously won the game. Then they drew against Southampton, and then they've lost in the Europa. But I still think this game against Forest they'll win comfortably. But then Chelsea the week after is a tougher one for them, followed by Wolves away. Again, I can't really tell what they're going to do in that one because Wolves don't have a manager at the moment. By then they could, and they could be a new manager bounce. But yeah, there's a bit of talk about Arsenal's squad being quite thin at the moment, having used a lot of the same players of lately and that type of thing. But we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, that's it. I think we mentioned this one earlier. Bowen to Saka is probably the more appealing one at the moment. That's sort of the one and the move, that I think a lot of people are looking at making for this game week. And look, there is a chance we get a leaked lineup for the Leicester Man City games. That is a good point. And then PSB said next game week, if Haaland is out, there's no clear-cut captain option, but think he'll be back next game week if he misses out this game week. Well, yeah, that's it. Look, if you look at game week 15, De Bruyne could be the shout right in this one. This could be the one where if Haaland is out, you just think, all right, Salah to De Bruyne, slap the captain's armband on De Bruyne. And go from there. But I think Haaland will be back by then, surely. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Yacino, hi, will Cancelo play 60 minutes? Did he recover? I was just saying this before, I actually haven't seen the full Guardiola press conference. So I need to see the latest update. If anyone's seen it and they got the comments, please put it in so we can help Yacino. But I would like to say that he will play. It sounded like he just had a little bit of a fever. But yeah, keep an eye out for training pictures. Go check out the press conference. But if anyone knows anything, put it in the comments. He's in my team and I'm going to play him. So I'm assuming that he is going to play at this stage. But welcome to the stream. Great to have you in, mate. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could just subscribe, that would be awesome, mate. As you're a new face I've not seen around too much. So it's great to have a comment from yourself, mate. Alex just said Luke Shaw for the next 3. Interesting one. I'll tell you what's funny with Luke Shaw. He was the player everyone wanted at the start of last season after the Euros. He was in all of our teams at the start, and he was just horrific, wasn't he? In the end, he was horrific. He was letting in goals and wasn't getting assists. And yeah, interesting one to see if we will see the return of Luke Shaw in FPL. So very interesting pick there. And Fazid said Salah has to score. This is the easiest fixture for him. I hope so. I think we all hope so. But we've been saying that now for most of the season, and we've only seen 3 league goals. So let's hope this is the week. We're 14 game weeks in. Technically 13 game weeks because we did have that 1 game week off. But yeah, we want more goals from Salah. And then a comment said, please, guys, hold your transfers to the deadline. There will be more important info. Exactly that. This is why a lot of the time, I mentioned it during the stream, I've been burnt before where I did an early transfer. There was an FA Cup game. Players got injured. If I can, I tend to... I tend to try and wait till all the press conferences are out, all the training pictures are out, and I review as much information as possible. And then a question coming. I mean, if Cancelo is going to be rested, it's got to be this game week. Good point, but I actually think if they rest him, it will just be in the Champions League next week because City are through. They have no reason to play him in that. They've got Seville at home, who I don't think can qualify. So I feel like they might play Cancelo and maybe drop him in the Champions League. I'm hoping so. But yeah, good point. Good question. Onto the Ball said, Forest was an easy fixture for Liverpool. You're not wrong. And look what happened there. And then Alex has come in and said, I have Ward, Mendy, Cancelo, Trippier, Dalot, Gahey, Kilman, Rashford, Martinelli, Foden, Zaha, Andreas, Haaland, Jesus, Darwin. 1 free transfer, 3.7 in the bank. Any ideas for this game week? So you could play Cancelo, Trippier, Dalot, Gahey. So that's your 4. Rashford, Martinelli, Foden, Zaha, Andreas, that's 5. Oh, you've got a good enough squad, mate. You don't need to make any. You could play 3 at the back there. You could play Cancelo, Trippier, Gahey, Cancelo, Trippier, Dalot, 3. Then play 4 in midfield of Rashford, Martinelli, Foden, Zaha, and then 3 up front in Haaland, Jesus, Darwin. But then you've obviously still got Andreas. You don't need to make any changes right now, mate. In my opinion, I think you can roll over 2 transfers. I guess Mendy to Ramsdale. If you think Kepa's going to play this weekend and then you don't want to play Danny Ward against City, then yeah, Ramsdale could be a good shout over the next couple of game weeks. You could look at Ramsdale. I'm just having a look at the fixtures here, which I've obviously left on the screen. You could look at Pickford, maybe. You could look at who else? I guess maybe a Pope. David Raya has got a couple of good fixtures as well. So, yeah, maybe goalkeeper is the one area that you could potentially improve. And then Euros just said, hey, Matt, thanks for the stream and answers. What to do with Firmino? Will he play or be rested? Nunes for a -4. Any info on Gabriel? With Gabriel, I think he was limping out the stadium. I've not heard any new information just yet. But I think with the fact that Thursday and Sunday is just so close in proximity, I'd expect that, if he did leave and he couldn't walk and he now can't train, I don't think Arsenal will risk him. As for Firmino, Matt Cowlin, a Liverpool fan, has said, I think Firmino gets a rest this week. Started a lot recently. So there is some insight on Firmino for you, mate. Yacino goes, even if I sell Cancelo, there's no one to get. I have Trent. Yeah, I wouldn't sell Cancelo, mate. Pope, Trippier, Trent, Cancelo, Salah, Martinelli, Foden, Eze, Mitrovic, Haaland, Tony, Bench, Walker, Stanya, Kilman, Andreas. Great squad, very strong squad. What I will say, after seeing everyone's teams tonight, I feel like everyone's got the same team. It's just crazy. Everyone's got such a similar team, but strong squad. Abanzer. I have a feeling Arsenal will rest Saliba and Jesus this week, considering they're on 4 yellow cards and play Chelsea next. That is a great comment. That's really interesting. Yeah, look, it is an interesting one. I did see in the Europa League, right? So Xhaka was on 1 yellow away from a ban in the Europa. So they played him and he got booked. And there was a lot of people talking about, betting tips and put a bet on Xhaka to get a yellow. And he did. And obviously he did that knowing he'd get banned in the last group game. So then he could play in the knockout stages. So maybe Arsenal might do something a little bit cheeky this week, either sub them early or rest 1 or 2 of them. That's a good point. But then they might look at it as, every game, they got to win every game in front of them. Because what could technically happen, right? Saliba and Jesus might not play. They could get sick or injured in the Europa League, and then they'd look back at it and think we should have just played them against Forest. But good point on the 4 yellows. It's a good point. It might make me think twice about bringing in Saliba, as I don't want to get a banned player. Mount to Saka, I'd still play Mount. I know Saka's one of my player picks of the week, but I just think the Mount fixture is still good for him. And we just had a comment from Just a Dad posting stuff. I love that name. That's such a good YouTube name. A new podcast for me. Join in, subscribing and liking. Great stuff, Matt. Thanks for joining, mate. Good to have you in. Let me know if you've got your FPL team and what it looks like for this week. Let me know in the comments. Really appreciate the sub, and I love that name. Just a Dad posting stuff. That's brilliant. Comment from Yacino. I don't know why, but I think we'll see 2 hat tricks this game week. Maybe from Salah, Jesus, Son, Tony. I'm really liking Son for this Bournemouth game. Just get this little feeling for him, but unfortunately, I can't fit him in. So I've got to hope he does score that for Spurs' sake, and hope Salah gets the goals, as he's in my team, and Tony as well. We got Eunice Fitness. I'm catching him, Rashford, YOLO. Yeah, good. You want to do something different. You've got to enjoy FPL as well. You can't just play the game like a robot, because it just becomes boring. Have fun with it. Do what you think. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's a game week next week. You always want to try and finish as high as you can. It's enjoyable. It's good to do well. It's good to compete, win mini leagues. But sometimes with FPL, you've got to look at it and think, if the chances of winning it, it's such a low chance of winning it, that you've got to also have fun with it as well. And picking players like Rashford, right? If he ends up getting a couple of goals this weekend, you're going to remember that pick, for a long time. It goes down in FPL folklore for you. PSB, though, has just said, no chance, Abs near. Arsenal lost versus PSV. Drop points for Southampton. They're going to come all guns blazing against Forest. Might be a tennis score. So there you go. PSB thinks Arsenal are going to win that one quite easily. Nunes or Jesus. I prefer Nunes. I think Jesus is a quality player. But Nunes, for me, I feel he's... Arsenal's fixture is good, but I just think Leeds are very open side. Nunes seems to just be scoring whenever he gets the minutes and the starts. He's actually scoring the goals. So I still think Nunes is the better pick from the two, from an FPL perspective. Some people might disagree, but I prefer Nunes. And then we had Hyder. I'm thinking of selling Tony. Who would be a good replacement, Darwin or Firmino? I mean, I wouldn't even sell Tony. I wouldn't even sell Tony, mate. I would be keeping him for this game week, especially with the Wolves game, mate. So yeah, I'd personally be keeping him. Comment from GS425. Hey MD, good to join you, me old mate Gaza. Great to have you in, mate. I'm assuming, is it Matt's dad, Gary Gaza? Yeah, let me know. Let me know, mate. I'm assuming because you've called me MD. This has been a long podcast as well, but I'm gonna stay on because we're getting a lot of questions coming in. We've had another one, Mount to Saka, but they will face each other next EPL fixture. How? Yeah, I'd still keep Mount for this week, and then you get Mount at home to Arsenal, which I still think stronger than Saka away to Chelsea. And then question from WB. Hi, my situation is I had Gahey and Botman as third defender options. Would you transfer in Ben White or play one of these two? I'd just play one of them, mate. Gahey's probably got the better fixture because Southampton haven't been that great this season, but then Newcastle got the better defence. And then again, Villa haven't been great. Yeah, you'd probably got a Newcastle defender based on how good their defence has been this season. It's the best defence in the league. And then Yacine says, I mean, Neto's injured, so I think you mean Tony will likely score 3. Oh, sorry, Spurs. Sorry, the goalkeeper from Wolves, from Bournemouth, Neto's injured. So Spurs can score 3 or 4 goals easy. I hope so, mate. I hope so. It's a good point. And then Amazon's here. It's about time Salah drops a hat-trick. It is about time. We've waited a long time for Salah to to come out and actually get some points for us, and some big points, and hopefully this is the week. Eunice has just said Ward out, Dallo in. Man United fixtures are great. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm assuming that's Joel Ward from Crystal Palace. So yeah, I like the sound of that. And then Abzanir, PSB. Let's just see, mate. Saliba played against PSV 2. This is the game to rest him, and I hope he plays. And then comment from Gary. Yeah, Matt's dad. Great to have you in the stream, mate. We need to get you. Me and Matt need to get you on the Fantasy Premier League. But look, if there's no more questions, we've got one more to come in. Haaland's that long-term. Kane is the obvious replacement. Yeah, I agree. I think Kane's going to come in for me this weekend if it looks like Haaland's not going to, play over the next few weeks. And I need to put up for a guest pundit on Match of the Day. Oh, mate, that'd be awesome to go on there. And then thoughts about Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, we spoke a bit about him during the pod tonight. For me, I never get any luck with him, but he does have 3 good fixtures. And I think he is a good Mitrovic replacement for next week. So, yeah, look, that is where we are going to wrap up now. If there's any more questions, you can still put them in the comments. I'll answer them after the stream. I've just been going for about an hour and 28 minutes nearly now. So I'm going to have to wrap up the stream because it's 12:27 a.m. where I am in Australia. So I need to get myself to sleep. So I will look to wrap up. My next stream is going to be, I'm going to do a Champions League stream next week, actually, for UCL Fantasy. So it'll be the night before the deadline, so likely on Tuesday next week. I'm also going to be potentially joining FPL Rue, who is another FPL content creator in Australia, for his stream on Monday night. And I might even be doing some more Premier League sort of 2-3 minute clips on this channel as well. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit the like button, and you can give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at FPL Matt Day. Hit the notification bell as well so you won't miss an upload. If it doesn't allow you to hit the notification bell, you just need to unsubscribe and then be sure to subscribe again and then hit the notification bell again. But yeah, we've had a couple of other comments that have come in, but I'll answer them offline in the comments. I'll bring up this last one just from PSB. Great stream, mate. Love all the people joining in. Yeah, thanks everyone that joined in tonight. We had some really good views tonight. Lots of questions, lots of new faces. So I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. I'll leave it there. Good luck, everyone, for game week 14. Fingers crossed, luck is on our side. And I will see you all in the next one.